Good day, everybody. It's TJ Jones and Conrad. It's another episode of Inside Men, Music, Entertainment, and News. Today, we got a special episode with a special guest, our good friend of the show, Lawrence.
Appreciate that. I'm very happy to be here, Lawrence Raysor, and I'm the most happiest guest. I have no idea. It's been a while since I've been on a podcast, and this is the right place to be.
I'm happy that you're here. Now, there was nobody else that I really wanted to be on this show because today's episode is about fathers. Now, unfortunately, Father's Day is probably arguably one of the most underrated holidays there are. But we're going to talk about it. All of us being fathers, Father's Day just passing. We're going to talk about it. Now, how was your Father's Day, gentlemen?
I did not expect that question. I'll let you answer first.
My Father's Day was like any other day.
Really?
Yeah. Got to see my daughter. We went out, caught a movie. That was it.
Now, that's the reason why I say underrated, because it shouldn't feel like just another day, per se. Because
it shouldn't, but
if it was a Mother's Day, you got to go all out grand. Yep. But as far as Father's Day, it ain't no grand.
No.
It's not as grand.
No.
So that's why I say underrated.
So that's where my Father's Day landed, right? I actually woke up, and I live in Jersey right now. I woke up, I didn't say anything to anybody. I usually am the first one up in the house. And I drove to Harlem, and I went and I gave myself like a little workout session on the court for like an hour, 45 minutes, put some meditation music in my ears, and I just worked out, got a nice tan, broke a crazy sweat, might have hurt my body a little bit, but I left the house because I knew what was coming, and I often get to Father's Day and I feel a split feeling. I feel what I used to feel when I was younger, when I used to wish my pops was around, right? And I used to hate seeing people celebrate Father's Day because like I couldn't catch up to my pops. And we can get into that later. But I also feel like my kids don't get how important it is for me. So they don't know how underappreciated I can feel. And I don't feel like it's translatable yet to the point where it's just like so much pressure on them, they might not even get it. So let me just go blow off some steam and go do this. And they did, they got me some cool gifts. Yeah. I got some Nike outfits, which was cool. And I got a painting, nice. A customized painting with my sons on it and my late grandfather.
Oh, that's nice.
My man.
That's dope.
Man.
Yeah.
And so seeing him in a painting with them, knowing that time never really happened, was like, it was special.
That's
right.
dope.
And then the most special part about it for me, for Father's Day, is always the words of appreciation. So the cards. My sons, they write in their own cards. That's a big deal for us in the family. So that was beautiful, So I got to blow off my steam. I came back, and I spent that time with them. And I just tried to play it low-key. Low-key. But I get what you're saying. Like, I wish it was more, because I know how much we put into it.
Yes.
Yes. And, for Father's Day, you don't see commercials. You don't see these jewelry stores having Father's Day sales or really just marketing.
Uh-huh.
And, I don't see anything. So it's just like it's a day that goes by where it's just treated like another day. We got to fight off shade amongst a whole bunch of other things on this day, and it's just the fathers that are actually present. We got to deal with the fathers that aren't present, and the scars that have left, the women that got to take on the responsibility of raising the child by themselves. And that day where appreciation should be spread, you also get that mixed with a little bit of toxicity. So it's just like, whereas when, Mother's Day come around, we thank the mothers. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, you get advertisements for Pandora, right? You get advertisements for every kiss begins with K. Get that, a 6-pack and some work boots.
Yeah.
Right, or some Oxford shirts.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't get this extravagant display. And of course, there is that undertone of bitterness that comes with the fact that there are so many absentee fathers who believe it is not their responsibility to raise a child, just to make a child, right? Yes. So I get why that disdain is there and why that bitter taste is in some people's mouths. And I get that sometimes we bear the brunt of it, or we bear that lack of appreciation because some people were raised to not see the true impact of a father, so they don't get how much work we're putting in, specifically how much emotional work we put in. Right?
So
because
much.
that's what we're literally talking about right now. We're joking about gifts and stuff, but I think what we're looking for is that emotional reciprocation. Like, we understand how much of your heart and your soul you put into us. We just want to give you some of our heart and soul today too.
Right.
And I don't think they know we need that because we're men.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
My sons are 9 years old. They'll be 10 this year in October. And every single birthday they've ever had, I've literally fought for them. From the day that they were in the hospital, I literally fought for them. And I make it a priority because I didn't grow up with my father, that I literally do any and everything for my sons. So just for my mental, just for my mental to be in a good place when it comes to holidays, come to my birthday, I always do something for myself. My birthday, I always take a little trip by myself. I always go to the spa, because if I be like, yo, Lawrence, come with me for my birthday. Yo, Khan, come with me for my birthday. And neither one of y'all show up. Now I'm going to feel bad because y'all ain't show up. But yet it's my day. You don't have to show up. So that's why I make sure that I do something for myself. And as far as Father's Day goes, listen, I'm taking you. I don't care if you got something for me. I don't care about it. We out and we going. So my sons told me that, because my son loves to cook. He likes to eat eggs. So I'm like, all right, no problem. That's the first dish that everybody learns how to cook is eggs.
Yeah.
So teach my son how to cook eggs. Now he wants to advance and he wants to go to pancakes now. Okay. So I'm like, listen, I see you want to be in the kitchen. You want to learn how to cook? He said, yes. So for Father's Day, I actually enrolled my sons into culinary school.
Nice.
So that's what I did at 9 years old. So they go once a week, and my mother always told me, make sure that you know how to take care of yourself.
Right.
Make sure that you are independent and you don't have to rely on anybody. Where as far as you want a woman, but you don't need a woman. You don't need a woman. So I instilled those things in my sons. Hey, you gotta learn how to do your chores, clean up after yourself, and do what you got to do. That way you don't have to rely on anybody to do it.
That's beautiful. I wish I would have done that when I was younger. That's one of my bigger regrets, is not forcing my way into the kitchen. And, you know, I was a bit of a jokester and a clown, so I was always told, you know, go play some basketball, go hit the court, go read a book or something, but get out this kitchen playing like that. I never took the kitchen seriously. You know, now I'm grown and I have my own, like, medical condition, stomach-wise. So my diet is really, like, a big part of my life. Because if I don't eat the right thing, I'm sick for about 4 or 5 days straight. So I wish I had that culinary set of skills where I could just be like, you know what, fine, I'm going to shift it all the way this way, and I'm going to do this and do that and do this, and I'm going to make sure I'm okay. Because other than that, I'm just a burden to somebody now.
Yeah.
You know, and I never want my kids to be a burden. Mm-hmm. And along those same lines, something you said of when it's your birthday is for you to celebrate. I take that same approach with peace now.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how important it was for me to be at peace individually before dealing with my sons. Because like I said earlier, a lot of people don't understand when we're dealing from our deck, we're dealing from our emotional and our spiritual deck when we're dealing with our children. Because I don't know about y'all, I was a very, very violent kid, right?
Oh, I'm saying
temper.
Yes.
So I know like up until my kids, I know one way to deal with things. And we're not going to talk too much about this.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, like, in any situation, what are we talking about? Like, let's handle this way. So in order for me to revert my energy, channel my energy into something productive for my sons, that's an emotional process. I'm channeling frustration and anger that would normally come out in violence, whether it's words or in physicality. I'm channeling that into a lesson. I'm channeling that through love, right? In order for that transformation to take place, I got to be at peace. Because if I've got chaos up here and chaos in here and in my spirit, it's going to come out like that.
I do so much for my sons, and I tell everybody my practice when it comes to my sons, and everybody applauds me because, just like you said, listen, there wasn't a day that went by where I wasn't fighting somebody. I was always fighting, and I don't know where that anger came from, as far as wanting to build a reputation, not having my father. I don't know where it came from, but I always was fighting because I had to stand up for myself. I had to. So I don't want my sons to have to battle the same fights that I did. So with that being said, I tell my son all the time, be the CEO of CYE. Be the CEO of CYE. CYE is controlling your emotions. Be the CEO and controlling your emotions. So I tell my sons that all the time. And it's one of those things where you tell your kids stuff and you don't think that they get it. You don't think that they get it because you continuously repeat yourself. Yep. Hey, do this, do this. Hey, clean up, clean up, clean up. Hey, do this, do this. And they never do it. And you don't think that they do it. So last year, they did a project at school. And, 10 things that you are grateful for with your dad. My dad, helps me with my homework. My dad takes me different places. We have fun. My dad, plays sports with me. Number 10 was my dad teaches me the CEO of CYE. Man, I'm telling you right now, and I cried, man.
Yeah.
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried because I know I'm doing something good.
Right.
I know I'm doing something good, and I know that what I'm saying is sticking.
But most importantly, the ability to control your emotions, is very important. Not just as a man, but as a human being. I preach that with my daughter.
But people don't realize it's in the simplest form. It's in the simplest form. So, prime example. It's not hard. It's just you got to break things down for people to understand it. Prime example. So my son says that he wants to wear shorts. My son just loves to wear shorts. This new era where they want to wear shorts and Crocs all the time. Yeah. And my son is like that. So my children's mother says, talk to your son. He wants to wear shorts. So go and I talk to my son. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, Dad, I want to wear shorts. I said, okay, no problem. I live in the house, pick my son up, just put him outside the door. I didn't even get a chance to close the door because he's sitting there and he's freezing, he's shivering. He jumped back in the house. What's wrong? Yeah. Exactly, what's wrong? He's like, Dad, it's cold out there. I said, all right, no problem. But the whole point I said, the simplest form is I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm going to show you what the end result is, and you're going to be cold. Get in a hot shower. Till this day, he has never once asked to wear shorts again. At least when it's cold outside.
Yeah, but see, what people are going to miss from your story is what they often miss. You had other options.
Yes.
You could have said, yo, you just going to wear the shorts because I said you're going to wear the shorts. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You could have roughed him up. You could have intimidated him.
No.
I started out as a father. I started out intimidating. I started out using fear. And I said I would tell you why, right? Why we fought a lot. Because that's how we were raised. We were raised to know that fear sends messages. Mm-hmm. And your level of fear speaks to who you are in the social hierarchy. So the most fearless of us in high school and in middle school, those were the toughest. Those are the ones that they may not have been the biggest, the fastest, but they were going to go to some end that you weren't ready to meet them at, right? Those were the scary guys because they're super reckless. They're ready to take you out and take themselves out doing it.
Yes.
Right? So we bring that to our kids. We bring that to other spaces where when we get upset, we know that's how we're supposed to communicate because that's how it's communicated when we get popped, right? You did something wrong, you got popped. So through that pain, you know you weren't supposed to do it. And now the threat of violence is what keeps you from doing it. Yes. Not the respect for your parents, not the respect for the law, but the threat of violence, right? And that becomes a dangerous thing because then that's the only way they communicate with other people who are in authority.
Yes.
And I didn't want that for my son.
100%. And
I also didn't want to destroy their confidence because and I'm sorry to cut you off, in meeting them with fear and intimidation, I'm telling them, you are never going to be tougher than me. And so you always have a ceiling over their confidence. Yeah. And for what? So I can feel secure? So I can feel secure. I'm a grown man. Why do I need to build my security off of this 12-year-old, this 11-year-old? And plus, I saw it because I have 3 sons. I have twin boys, 14, and I have an 11-year-old son. So those twin boys, when they were coming up, they built their own little community within one another, amongst each other. And then they have a little brother. They have a little brother who's now trying to fit in. And now you can't fit in. You ain't as tough as me. You can't fit. So now you're using the same language I use with you. Why you? Because you mimicking. Yeah. So you are paying attention. Yeah. Oh, but you paying attention. Now I got to look at myself in you.
100%.
And I don't like it. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that for you. So somebody had to point this out because I've been very judgmental of my father's generation.
Okay.
Because I always say, like, we were the fatherless sons. We were the fatherless generation. And this is an educator, and she's a fellow educator, and she said to me, you ever take a look at what their lives were like I'm like, yeah, my dad was one of 14. She says, no, not their family dynamic per se, but the lives of men in the 60s, black men in the 60s, black men in the 50s, the lives of black men in the 70s. I found out recently my father was a revolutionary. I didn't know that. He kept it quiet as kept. So imagine his life, what he hid, what kind of fire he hid in him. Imagine what he dealt with in dealing with racism. Imagine what he dealt with in dealing with his father, who only wanted to be there to provide. I ain't got time for all of that. I got 14 kids. And then you have a kid who shows up and he wants to be creative. He wants to be a class clown. He's lighter than you. His mother's soft on him. Everybody wants to spoil him. And you preparing him for your fears. As a father, we prepare our sons for our fears. He feared I was going to get taken advantage of. So he showed me through violence. You got to be tougher. And I learned that. I spoke fluent violence by the age of 14. I can see it coming. You know what I mean?
We prepare our children. What did you say? Through our from our fears.
For our fears.
For our fears. That's how I am with my daughter. What I'm afraid of, I've been putting on her. And
What are you afraid of?
It's a good question.
Life. She's a girl. She's a beautiful girl, and she's approaching adulthood. My daughter's 16. She'll be 17 in October. She's going. She's about to be a senior. After the school year is done. So for me, everything for me these past couple years has just been about preparation, preparing her for the real world, preparing her for what life is gonna be like when she steps out into the real world. Because for me, I wasn't prepared for that. So when I got out of high school and them doors closed behind me, reality hit me, life hit me, when it was just like, oh shit, what am I doing next? Oh shit this, oh shit that. So it's just like, when it comes to my daughter, same thing, with the cooking. When it comes to the, just being able to take care of herself, responsibilities, knowing how to do certain things. But the biggest thing for me is self-awareness with her. You understand? Like, I need you to be aware, just as a lady, you have to be aware of everything that's going on around you, because if you're not, that could be the day where, worst case scenario can present itself, So it's just, preparation has been my thing for me when it comes to like my daughter. From a very young age, I realized that I've always just been preparing her for life without me. Because it's just like, we live on this planet and we don't know when we're going to go. And the last, one question I always ask myself is, if I left, is she going to be okay? If I left, can she take care of herself?
Yo, not to cut you off, that's deep and that's funny, because I thought I was the only one who thought like that. I thought I was the only one who thought like that. Real talk. I thought I was the only one who thought like that. But it's
I think like that a lot, and I think our struggles are different, raising young women and raising young men, right? And it's not to say either one of our struggles are worse or better, but they're definitely different. And I think one of the struggles we share, though, is as people who work hard and as people who love hard, we provide a space for our children that is so safe it can sometimes operate as a bubble. Mm-hmm. And then we expect them to have things like self-awareness or street smarts when they don't have to. So the bigger challenge for people like us, who our kids are living in our luxuries and in our comforts and in our technologies, right? We have to simulate struggle. And that was the biggest, weirdest lesson for me as a parent, was like, yo, he's not going to be in the park like I'm in the park.
Yes.
He's not going to see what I saw to understand why I'm like this. So while he's in this house, I got to simulate struggle. So for example, I need you to understand that it's not going to be something that you can do on the first try all the time. So yeah, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch you struggle to plug that HDMI cord in the right spot. I'm going to watch you struggle to find the input. I'm going to watch you struggle to find the remote because I told you to put it in the right spot. I'm not going to be so quick to fix things. And sometimes mom steps in and she's like, oh, but let me just help him, because to mom, if you suffer, I'm doing a bad job as a mom. And that's fine for you as a mom. That's not my job as a dad. My job for you, my job with you as a dad is to prepare you for the world that you are going to enter into. Yes. Now, here's where we have to find the balance. I say we prepare them for the things we fear, but the world is changing. And they are learning their world as we are learning ours. And we have to respect what they've learned too. So there's a gap between us because what they've experienced independent of us and that bubble we wrap around them, or so they think, because even when they're away, they're around my bubble because I know people. You know what I mean?
Yes,
but they don't know this.
Yes.
So when they're out there and they're having their independent experiences, they're learning the world from their angle. And sometimes what I'm saying doesn't jibe because, nah, Dad, I saw something different. So in order to bridge that gap, we got to communicate. And when we communicate, I can't always dominate. Because in dominating, I'm undermining your experiences. And when I undermine your experiences, I create a disconnect. And now when you disassociate, now you become dangerous to yourself because now you don't have this other side of the bridge where, yo, I'm going to give you some of the future. I know you see some of the present, but I'm going to give you some of the future, right? We have to be able to bridge that gap. Yeah. So as much as I would love to project my fears onto you, I have to be very careful about that. Because as I'm projecting my fears onto you, it becomes more of an intense conversation. And you got to get this. You got to get this because you don't know what you're in danger of. And it's like, but chill, Pops. I got this. Yes. I've been listening. No, but you haven't shown me you're listening. But I got to give me a chance. And we got to give him a chance. And that's the scariest part. I got to give you a chance. Yes. I don't know how the world's going to treat you.
To see if you fell or to see if you succeed, which is crazy.
And that's the thing about, and that the thing for me, because I agree with 95% of everything you're saying. The thing for me is, when they say you gotta give them a chance, my thing is, at what cost? So, for example, real situation with my daughter yesterday. My daughter says, Dad, I want to go to a basketball game. My friends are going from school to a basketball game. Can I go? My next question is, where is this game? This is a tournament going on in the projects. She doesn't understand danger. She's so, like, when I say I'm talking self-awareness, you need to understand where you're going. You need to understand going into high-risk places where, listen, the life is all about chances of, the odds of, everywhere you go is dangerous. But there's certain places where the chances of something bad happening is very higher than in other places. As a child, growing up, I grew up in the northeast section of the Bronx. I was over there in that Gun Hill area, right across the street from Eastchester Gardens. Okay? I seen it all. I seen Parkside shoot up the projects during basketball games. I've been in other projects where fights and all that stuff done happen. You're going there to watch a game, but you don't realize is you're 16 years old, but you're going to be in vicinity with grown men that don't know how to act. Just this week, I saw it on the news. They had a senior ditch day. A senior ditch day. This bunch of schools had went to the beach. Some idiot decided that morning, today is senior ditch day. We're going to the beach. It's going to be nothing but women around us from different schools that's going to be there. Some idiot decided to pack a gun. Yes, young girls. Some young kid decided to pack a gun and ended up shooting some kid in the chest that day.
Really?
Yes, this was all over the news. And this is my thing. It's just like, you got to be aware of these things because if your mind is just fixated on, just having fun, it's just like, yeah, that's cool, but this world is very dangerous. You got to be aware of the places you go. Like, there are people that invite me places, and I'll sit back and I'm like, where's that at? And they tell me where it's at, and I'm like, oh, I'm good. I ain't going there. That's dangerous. And then 90% of the times wherever I go, I'm leaving early. You understand what I'm saying? I got it from Denzel Washington. Leave 30 minutes before the devil arrives. So it's just whenever I go out at a certain time, 2 o'clock come around, 1:30 come around, I'm out. I leave before the fuck niggas come around. I leave before all the nonsense happens because at the end of the day, like I tell people, when I leave my house, my daughter expects me to come home. So it's just... Your boys expect you to come home. Yep. Your family expects you to come home. That's my most important job when I leave the house. Yeah. So,
do you feel like you have her on a leash? And if so, do you think that's beneficial to her?
I don't have her on a leash. And that was a conversation she had. She said, I feel like when I ask you to do things, you always say no. And I had to break it down to her. I said, I'm not going to allow you to do everything you want to do. You know what I'm saying? I said, when you ask if you can go to basketball games, that your school's having, I allow you to go. You ask if you can hang out with your friends. I say, where are you going? We're going to the mall. We're going to the movies. We're going to get something to eat. Okay, have fun. You understand what I'm saying? When she hangs out with her friends, well, you going to the mall, who are you going with? Make sure you're hanging out with the right people, because if one person steals, y'all all going down. You understand what I'm saying? But if she says, oh, hey, Dad, can I go hang out with my friends? Or where are you guys going? No, I'm going to go around my friend's block. No, you can't go there. Because what are you hanging around the block for? What are you hanging around anybody's building for? Nothing good comes from that. I've done that.
You don't want to set that bad habit up.
Yes. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just, you get caught up in nowadays, these kids, my daughter tells me all the time, kids is in class high. Smoking weed. Bad. They done took their edibles on the way to school. Yeah, so it's just like you hanging out in the street. They don't got parks. They don't have what we had. Like we talked about earlier. They don't do cypher. They sit in the middle of the street, do TikToks, do silly things, and they do drugs. So it's just like I'm not gonna put you in that environment where you just allow you to go in that environment where you're just sitting around people that's just doing drugs, because I genuinely feel like if you surround yourself around a certain environment, the chances of you succumbing to what's going on in there is high. So
I agree, right? Because I feel like when they say be careful of the company you keep.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's take, for instance, let's take a 16-year-old girl, right? Let's take a 16-year-old girl that meets a group of friends, and this 16-year-old girl is en route to college, looks like she's on path to get full scholarship to college, gonna go away to school, gonna make her parents super proud, right? Now she meets this group of kids, and this group of kids, they smoke, they drink, they party, and they do TikToks, and they're on social networks, and they're popular. And she feels let into this group because she's never been a part of this group, because she's always been focused on her studies. And now she has an opportunity to be one of the cool kids. This is an experience she hasn't had before. She doesn't understand the weight of all the things that she's sacrificed and all the time she's put into becoming who she is now at risk. She also doesn't understand that she's changing her own life based on the way she's changing her schedule. Because now you have to keep up with what they're doing on TikTok and what they're doing on the gram, and who snapped what and who said what. And oh, snap, I forgot I had a project due, but they want to go hang out here. And now if I don't do this, I'm not cool, and they might forget about me.
Chasing fun.
And that's tricky, because this is the generation. There were lots of generations before, but this is the generation where FOMO is going wild.
100%.
FOMO is crazy.
100%.
And then you throw in the technological situation of it, where I have access to my friends at all time. We had access to our friends until the street light came on.
Listen, but it was yes, but it was different because my father's in my life, and I have a very, very good relationship with my father. So whenever I'm dealing with something mentally, I run things by him, and we have a conversation. And I tell him, I said, listen, my son, I felt like he just plays the video game just way too much, and I want him to do other things. My father sit back, and he just, simplest form, he's 9. He's 9. What do you expect a 9-year-old to do? And just hearing it, I was like, you know what? You're right.
But what you want to know?
But not to cut you off, it was different though, because if I wanted to hang out with you, yo, Ma, can I take my entire system to Conrad's house? Can I take my entire system to Lauren's house? No. But guess what? Now in this day and age, all three of us can play from the comfort of our own home.
And the crazy thing about it is that's another thing. That's another way of you just seeing things in a way that you used to see it. Back in the day, us playing games led to nothing. You were wasting time. Nowadays, these kids can make a career out of it. They're making 6-7 figures off of just video games. Like, I wish what they had open to them was here 15 years ago when I was dedicating 6 hours a day to my Xbox.
True. So I have to be careful with that, because my youngest I don't want to rule it out for my oldest, the twins, to be artists. But my youngest, really, I recognize artistry in him very early on. So like he makes TikTok edits. And I'll be sitting here like, wait, hold on. This isn't something like you didn't download this off there. He's like, no, I put these images together. I put the music to it. I made sure to slash it. And I'm like, oh, this is fire. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just sitting on your phone. Okay, that's one. 2, my twins are 14. Now, my twins are 14. They're both 6 feet. They're built because I make them work out. They're handsome. They're intelligent. We put a lot of time into these kids. If they want to sit around and play video games, they have a certain amount of time to play video games. I'm going to get into that in a second. But they're into girls now, too. Nice. So now, like, for example, one of my sons left the crib at like 4, and at 6, I'm like, when's he coming home? Because I'd rather have you sitting there playing them video games than not know what's going on over at Shorty's house, right? So that's the one, right? So I don't mind y'all playing video games. The other thing is, it's a balance. Oh, you want to play video games a lot? Cool. Here's what you're going to do beforehand. Because you're going to feed your brain entertainment, and you're not royalty. Because that's what a lot of people don't understand. This is how it started with entertainment. Royalty got entertained. Royalty sat there on their throne or whatever was comfortable, and they brought the entertainment acts to entertain them and to impress them, and then you gauged how great you were based on their reaction. You ain't nobody's royalty. You got to grow up and earn. You understand what I mean? So how are you sitting here perfecting the skill of being entertained? Picking up your phone all day, watching TV all day. That's not gonna fly around here. You're gonna educate yourself, you're gonna exercise. So when they wake up, the first thing you can expect to do when you wake up is read. You got 20 minutes, well, it depends on what you're reading. Like one of the books my son is reading, he has to read 10 to 15 pages. It's called Toxic Inequality. It's a deep book, right? That's a lot for a 14-year-old. You don't have to read too much. But my other son, my youngest son, he's reading a graphic novel on how humans came to power in the world over animals and the rest of the world, right? But it's a graphic novel. So you got to read for about 20 to 25 minutes, right? Whatever it is, we're going to say you got to read first. That's the first thing you do. The second thing you're going to do is you want to open up your electronics? Cool. You're going to watch 3 educational videos from a playlist I created on YouTube. So I know what you're watching. Mm-hmm. After that, you're going to do your physical workout. Your physical workout consists of, you have to do playing cards. Whatever the first playing card is, that's how many push-ups you're doing. The next one is how many sit-ups, how many squat jumps, how many calf raises, and how long you're going to hold in the squat position, right? You got to do that 3 times through the deck. Nice. Then you got to watch either a full basketball game, because kids don't watch basketball anymore. Yeah. They love the sport, but they don't watch the sport. Terrible. They watch highlights, right? Terrible. You got to watch a full basketball game so you can understand how this highlight was actually more than a highlight. It was an organic result of everything that happened beforehand, right? So you can understand not only how the game works, and you can be realistic about how you gauge yourself, but you can also understand how life works, because it's all connected in a very Buddhist way. That's anyway, right? So after that, if you don't choose that, though, you can choose to watch something on animals, and you study the way animals work. Because people miss the fact that humans are animals. And if you understand animals and social hierarchies and the way they have to survive, you understand how complicated humans make things, right? So after all of this, then you're free to chill, right? And now that my sons are home from boarding school, because that's a whole nother animal, having them home from boarding school, now you can play video games throughout the day, sure. But my little one who's home, you can't play video games till 5 p.m. Yeah. That's the rule, right? And that's how it works in my house. You don't like it? Don't play video games then. Find something else to do. So, right. So you have to earn it. First of all, you have to feed yourself what it needs before you give yourself what you don't need, right? You're learning a lot of lessons through this. And there's other stuff to do. 100%. We got board games. Yes. You know, I got a full library. If you want to read something else, I got a ping pong table. I'm fortunate enough to have a pool in the back. Nice. There's a park around the way. Or you could just go running. We got a treadmill. Or you could just chill with me. We could watch movies. But you're not going to sit here on this video game all day.
All day.
You know what I mean?
So my thing is, I've learned how to be ahead of the game in a sense of being the father that I needed when I was young. So when it comes to my son, I tell my son, control your emotions. But at the same time, I'm going to make sure that you're in a good position for life. So my son's is 9 years old. Since 7, they had a journal. And I made sure that they had a journal. You have a journal so that way that you can build your vocabulary. You have a journal so that way that you can be better with your grammar. And you have a journal, most importantly, so you can learn how to express yourself. That's the biggest thing. I tell my son, it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. Just make sure you cry for something that's meaningful. Don't cry because your brother took something from you. Don't do that. But if something that's deep in your heart, it's okay to cry, son, because at the end of the day, don't let nobody tell you that you're not a human, because that's a human emotion. It's to cry. That's a human emotion. I want my sons to experience life, but I don't want them to walk gingerly through life, being afraid of things. Like, prime example, a few years ago, I had a conversation with my son's mother where my son is just like me in a sense that he talks to any and everybody. And I'm the same way. I do that. She says, I don't want him to be like you. I said, why you say that? She says, because I don't want him to talk to strangers. And I said, why? I said, I think you should rephrase that. I think it's perfectly fine to talk to a stranger. You were once a stranger to me. I said, but you got to have the conversation that it's okay to talk to strangers. Just don't go anywhere with a stranger. And that's what I drill into my sons, because we all are strangers at one point, and we all learn from one another. We feed off of one another and what somebody tells us and the information they provide for us. So we had that conversation. And the biggest thing when it comes to parenting is, yes, my sons are kids. They're young. They're 9. But they're young humans.
Yeah.
They're small humans. They're humans. So which means they have a voice. So I am not, like, going what you said, I'm not a dictator in a sense. You have to do this. You have to do this. What is it that you would like to do? Oh, this is what you want to do? All right, well, these are your options, and this is the result of what you want to do.
Well, I always, my fault.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I always reserve the right to be the dictator, though, right? Because I have the foresight, I have the knowledge,
Correct.
I have the experience. It's my job
100%.
to be this vessel for you, right? Like Jay-Z said it. Hove did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that.
Yes.
Right? So at some point, sometimes you're just gonna do it. Like my oldest twin, Lyric, he struggles to eat in the morning. But Lyric is also my hardest worker on the court and on the field. He's the kid who's going to take 2 charges a game. He's the kid who's going to dive. One of his favorite players is Dennis Rodman. Let's put it that way. He's
Nice.
going to outwork you. But you need fuel in your system, kid. And you may be able to do that and go, but you don't realize what you're doing internally is you're wearing yourself thin. I know that. You don't know that.
Yes.
This is a guy that used to spend 48 hours without sleeping, sometimes without eating, because I'm going from the job to the studio to the workplace, whatever, right? Taking you guys to wherever you need to go, and I'm not taking care of my body. And I now see the results. You see, I'm sick now, right, son? So I'm putting my foot down. You got to eat. You don't have to like it. You could be mad at me, but you're going to eat, right? But he respects that because I do give him that space where I'm like, yo, what do you want to do? Let's discuss that. So it's a balance.
Yes.
It's always a balance.
But it's funny because I preach that to my sons all the time as far as balance. And he's like, Dad, why you keep saying that? And I tell him, I said, because I've been in your shoes before, son. I did 6 years of high school. 6 years of high school. I said, I failed. I said, at the end of the day, if you failed, I failed. And I will never fail again because I already failed enough. So I'm going to make sure that I put you in the right positions so that way you can succeed at every opportunity you can.
Right.
That's it. I don't tell my sons, hey, I want, and this is another conversation that I've had with my children's mother, because we all are minorities here, and it's unfortunate, but we all look to be great entertainers. And I look at it and I'm like, I want my sons to do other things. So you could look at different cultures where, as far as the Asians and, the Caucasians, where you look at them and they tell their children from very young, this is what you're going to do. Don't look at any other career aspect. This is what you're going to do. So I had a conversation with my children's mothers. Should we go that route? But as far as telling our sons what we want them to do so that way that they can succeed. But I thought about it myself and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want my sons to have a choice.
Two things. You said that, and I want you to elaborate.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like if your son fails, you fail?
Because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. Because at the end of the day, I am number one. When he goes to school, he has a teacher. I'm the number one teacher. My son cannot learn life or school studies only from 9 to 3 and then get home and then I don't do anything with him because he supposedly did it at school. No, I'm number one, whether it's teacher, school, whatever the case may be, I'm number one. So if he fails, I fail in the sense that I'm not doing enough.
That's noble right now where your sons are at 9. I'm going to tell you where that goes at 18. Now, a big part of parenting is the journey. And as an educator and a mentor and a coach and a person who's just helped to raise kids his entire career, I understand that some of the fruits of your labor when it comes to raising children, you may never get to see them in full bloom, right? It may happen somewhere else and you have to hear about it. Mm-hmm. The mentality you have right now is going to limit you to thinking the barometer of success is based on their success, right? So I didn't do what I was supposed to do unless my kid graduates from college. You did what you were supposed to do. But there's also such thing as your kid doing what they're supposed to do.
And I asked you that for a reason. So you're literally saying everything that I was going to say. That I literally asked you that question for a reason. But go ahead, because I like where you're going.
Because what then happens is you actually strip your kid of the independence you hope to find in your child, because your child now learns, I'm doing this for dad. I'm not doing this for me. And as your child goes to work, Your child is going to question why I'm going to work. I'm not here for me. I did all of this stuff to train. I did that for my dad, right? In addition to that, you're undermining your own effort. Because you mean to tell me we're going to wait to graduation to appreciate the fact that you've been giving this man lessons from age birth to age 18? You are not limited to his success. You are actually all over his experiences, his exposure, his education. That's important. All of that matters. But when you look at it that way and you say, yo, if he fails, I fail, that's noble, that's beautiful, but that's limiting, and that will create resentment in both of you.
I respect that. I appreciate that. And I understand your point of view. And your point of view, too.
And that's why,
that.
and that's why for me, and like I said, me and my daughter had a real intense conversation the other day, and she had told me, and I realized this seriously a couple of weeks ago within my father. My daughter would say, like, I would tell you, I want to be this and I want to be that. And the way you would describe things to me is like discouraging. And I realized that I felt the same way when I told my dad I wanted to be a doctor or I wanted to be a lawyer. My father told me what it took to be a doctor, what it took to be a lawyer. And I always took that as discouragement. But deep down, I felt discouraged because I know I didn't want to put in that work. And I didn't realize that until a couple weeks ago. So I told her, I said, the reason why you feel discouraged is because you're lazy and you don't want to put in that work. I said, I see you all the time. You're in your room. You're always on your phone. You don't want to do this. You don't want to do that. You understand what I'm saying? So is when we have this conversation, I always tell her, I said, listen, I said, I don't want to live your life. I'm not here to control you. As a father, I want you to tell me what you want from life. And it's my job to help you get there. Use the resources that I have to pour into you. So it's just like, you let me know what you want from this life, and it's on me to help you get there, because at the end of the day, you don't want to put that expectation on your child to be, granddaddy, your great-grandfather was a cop, your granddaddy's a cop, I'm a cop, then you gonna be a cop. Well, what if he don't want to be a cop? These kids are different these days. They don't want to work. Like, I saw a study, and if I'm correct, I believe it said over 36% of the new generation want to be content creators. All of y'all can't be content creators, bro. The world won't operate if all of y'all are walking around with a fucking phone camera out trying to record something.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? So it's just, who moved my cheese? It's a book.
That's the name of the book?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
I recommend everybody to read that book. And it's all about the ability to adjust. You understand what I'm saying? Adjusting to the times, adjusting to everything, because we can be locked in our ways. And I realize that I can be locked in ways from how I grew up, and just realizing like we're in a different day. They have access to so much more that we didn't. So we have to shift our mindset. So for me, I tell my daughter all the time, and as she struggles to try to find something that she needs to do, that she wants to do, I always tell her, think about it. You know what I'm saying? I said, while you're upstairs, I said, think about what it is. Well, I don't know where to start. I said, well, for one, what makes you happy? What is it that you do that makes you the happiest? I said, think about that, find that answer, and then ask yourself, can I monetize it? Can you monetize it? Well, if you can monetize it, can you make enough money to sustain a lifestyle with it? No, you can't. Okay, well, how about looking into something that you're passionate about? If you're passionate about animals, if you're passionate about taking care of human beings, if you're passionate about air quality, whatever you're passionate about, go into that. But what I'm basically trying to say is do something that you love. Do something that you want to do so it doesn't feel like work, so you're not dragging yourself. I tell all the time, I was like, yo, one of the most important things that you can have traits you can have as a person is just being observant. Just sitting back and being able to watch what other people do and be like, yeah, I don't want to be like you. Yeah, I don't want to be like you. And it's just, I tell her, it's like, y'all don't want you at 35 where I'm at in life. Yeah. I don't. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, and I push you and I stay on top of you to do these things, and I don't let you get away with certain things. Like, so it could be a lot. Like she struggles with accountability and always looking at what she could have done different. And I tell her all the time, I got this from Grant Cardone, 10X Levels. I recommend that book to anybody. He said, anything that happens to you is a result of you. It derives from something you either did or didn't do. I'm a firm believer of that.
So Alan Watts, he's a he was many things. But one of the things he did very well was he brought Taoist culture and Buddhist culture to America, and he broke it down in our terms. And he said, karma literally translates into this is your doing. So I'm a firm believer in studying different cultures, not to be a member of each culture, but because culture is a combination of approved ways to live and survive and the artifacts that came with and dictated or portrayed that struggle to survive in a given area. So when you study different cultures, and I study different religions and spiritualities, right? So I'm a guy that's up at 4 a.m. I'm reading about Taoism. I'm reading about Buddhism. I'm reading about I'm reading the Quran, right? I'm reading the Vedas. I'm checking out Hermetic philosophy for ancient Egypt. Like, I want to know the key to living, the key to this world from every which way. I'm even reading a book called The Art of Love, right? I want to know every which way to live, and then I want to be a vessel for any question my son has, right? So in doing this and in learning this stuff, I understand that there are so many ways to live this life, and our children are exposed to all of them now via technology. Yeah. And I got to meet them there. Because when we were younger, we were being brought up in a community. A lot of us had communities when we were younger. The community is not so community anymore. Our country is not so much of a country now. It's a marketplace and it's a company where this company is competing with other companies internationally to have the highest GDP, so to speak, right? So you have to understand what that means for your culture and the cultures around you. For your culture, that means something different now, because the cultures around you, their children are learning to be capitalists at a very young age.
Yeah. You very much so.
And that's not a part of our culture, or our history, or our legacy.
Yeah.
We weren't raised to be capitalists. We were raised to be members of the community. And yet your kid has to be a part of that. So what I do is I not only teach my sons how to be a part of this community of family, of brotherhood, within, the three of them specifically, how to take care of the queen. Even if the king is out of place, come put me in my place for your queen. Also, how to be mindful of your neighbors and how to be mindful of the people in our village, in our basketball community, in our sports world community. But I also want you to be thinking about what kind of business you think you might own when you get older. Because we often teach our kids, and I didn't learn this till I started working at the job where I work now. I work at a very prestigious school that's in Riverdale that has been around for a very long time. And I once said to them, you have to have a little respect, because what if you work for somebody and they said, work for who? Why do you think we're going to work for somebody? These are 6th and 7th graders. Why do you think we're going to work for somebody? Meanwhile, when I was at a charter school and my sons were in Success Academy and I was at a charter school, we are consistently talking to these kids like, you better, watch how you act. You got to dress a certain way. Your boss is going to have this. Your boss is going to want this. But meanwhile, I'm talking to these kids about their clients, right? So I'm talking to my kids like that now. Hold on, what kind of business you think you might want to run? What kind of ideas you have? Because all you need when you have a business, you have to have a solution for something, or you have to have an enhancement for something that's already out. It's actually a lot easier than you think, but we never have these conversations. So I have to bring all of this to the table. In order to bring all this to the table, I have to absorb all of this and be a vessel. But in order to absorb all of this and be a vessel, I got to be at peace. Because I can't disseminate this information that I'm absorbing if I'm too wrapped up in my own life. So I got to find ways not to find solutions to my own life, because sometimes there's no solution. I got to find ways to deal and manage all this weight I'm carrying around, as I can put it on my back and still get on one knee to lift my son up. It's not easy.
My sons were 4, and I put them in piano class at 4. And very expensive, because I got twin boys. So double the price.
Oh, yeah.
So I put my sons in it. I think I had them in it for they were 4 years old. I think I might have had them for 4 months in it. But the classes were 45 minutes one time each week. So I think after the second month, I saw that, continuously going. They tell me that they like it. I wound up buying a keyboard for the house so that way they can try to practice and learn how to play. After the 4th month, went home. I'm just like, hey, play me something. And they still one finger in it. And I'm like, nah, I'm taking you out. And at that point, I've had a conversation with them. They were very young. They were 4 years old. But each and every year, on a regular basis, I have a conversation with them where I tell them there's a difference between a hobby and an investment. I said, if this is a hobby that you want to do, I'm all for it. We're going to have fun. We're going to, whatever the case may be, we're going to have fun. That's what I stress, fun. I said, if this is an investment, son, I'm going to pour all my money into this. I'm going to pour my time into this. But at the same time, we're still going to have fun, no matter what it is. Number one rule in life is to have fun no matter what you do. So now that my son wants to be a professional football player, I'm taking him to football camps. I'm buying all the equipment because I know this is something that he wants to do. If it was just a hobby, I would not be spending my money with this. No, not at all. So I had that conversation. My son is 9 years old, and I'm force feeding him these things.
If it was a hobby, like he just wanted to play football for the fun of it, why wouldn't you invest in that?
In which way? My investment would be to buy him a football and encourage him, like, hey, go play. And I would still play with him and, hey, go play with your friends.
But what if he was just like, yo, Pops, I want you to put me in Little League, but I don't want to go, pro. I just like football and I want to play it.
No, I have no problem doing that. The investment part that I'm talking about is as far as training goes.
Okay.
That's what I mean. As far as training,
so
as far as time, if this is something, a hobby that you just wanted, because we all play basketball. When you got people who play pickup ball, and then you got people who play street ball, and you got people who play in tournaments, and you got people who just got it where you like, this kid is different. So if you tell me that this is something that you want to do for a hobby, all right, we're going to do it for a hobby. I'm not buying all that training and equipment stuff until you tell me that this is something that you want to do, because you have to listen to your kids. They know exactly what they want. Like right now, I don't feed my sons until they tell me they're hungry. Because you know how much food I wasted cooking for them because of the time of day where, hey, it's dinner time for you to eat, and they're not ready? Because remember, they're human. They're little humans, but they're humans just like us. So I listen to my kids a lot, and I allow my sons to voice their opinion. And I go back and forth with one of my best boys because he's more of a dictator with his son. No, you're going to do this. And he and I get back and forth like, hey, I think you should have said it differently. And then even with me, when I allow my sons to voice their opinion, he's like, hey, I think you should have put your foot down. So there's different ways of parenting. But I said this before.
Go ahead.
But I said this before. People behave in the manner in which they were raised, or when the way that they wanted to be raised. So with that being said, I go so hard with my sons because I feel like I missed out because I didn't have. I looked up to people within the neighborhood. I looked up to school officials, my teachers. That's who I looked up to help me navigate life. And hey, this is what a man is supposed to do. I mean, I said it before in the podcast. One of my favorite movies is Boys in the Hood, and a kid and the guy in the Boys in the Hood movie, he walks around, grown man in the movie, and he walks around with a pacifier in his mouth. I idolize that. So with that being said, man, I went to the store. I got me a $1 pacifier. I'm in elementary. I'm walking up and down the hallways with a pacifier in my mouth. Until one teacher, a black man, said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't do that again." I know I didn't see what I think I just saw. And at that point, I threw it away and I did not do it again. And throughout my life, I've had other men in the neighborhood who did the same thing for me.
See, I think you were fortunate to have that, right? I'm thinking back, and I laughed when you said you looked up to school officials. I was looking up to the drug dealers that went to church with me. Right at church, right? Because I got 16 and 17. Like there was the Austin boys. There was like ranging from age 15 to about 22. There were like 6 of them in foster care, and they all went to church and they all hustled, and they all had like gold fronts, the big rope chains, the car, the 4-finger rings. I used to make 4-finger rings out of paper and put them on my hands because I wanted to be like these guys so bad, And then I remember. It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right. I got slapped for rapping that in front of church for them. But I wanted to be down, and I had that song memorized, and I thought it was tough. I didn't realize at the time what my father was doing.
Okay.
And that's very indicative of like what parenting is like and why it's so important to have a village, why it's so important to have a community, because at that point, my pops is just a hater, and he don't understand. I'm trying to be down. Like, this could be my ticket. I could be with the in crowd, right?
Yeah.
But if you got other men telling you, yo, it's not like that, or if you got older brothers telling you that's not where you want to be, that makes it easier, right? And so a big part of what I do as a father too is I empower other men, and I don't put my kids around men that I don't trust, but I vet them first. And now I can bring my kid around you, and I can leave my kid there, and you can say whatever you want because I know it's not going to land poorly. But I also prepare my kid, and I let them know not everybody's going to talk to you the way I talk to you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So a lot of this is more strategy than we get credit for too. Because I hear in a lot of what we're talking about is strategy. We're thinking long term. And my latest thing with strategy is love. Now, I didn't learn love like I thought I knew love until I dealt with my oldest son. My oldest son, and we talked about this before the show, my oldest son is the victim of twin comparison. When he was younger, they compared him so much he developed a complex, and he thought he was the evil twin. He thought he was the bad twin. So he would do things to get attention in a negative way because he thought that was the way he was supposed to do it and the only way he was going to get attention, because his brother just got attention so naturally doing other things, and they did all of the same things together. So it was very easy for people to compare, and they didn't stop it until I stopped it. And I used to put my foot down. We're not even going to have that conversation. And thank you. And I told my sons the same thing. Let people know we don't compare, and y'all won't entertain the conversation. But aside from that, so dealing with the residual effects of that, now I'm dealing with the kid whose self-esteem is low, who feels like he has to do negative things to get attention. And when he does these negative things to get attention, he's doing them in places where I'm seen as a role model. Because you got to understand, I'm 22 years into my career of working with children, and my sons are 14. I've already established myself as the guy you go to when you got a knucklehead or you got a tough kid, and Mr. Raysor will break him down, and he'll fill the kid with like confidence and knowledge, and that kid will be on his way. But how you not doing this with your own kids? And I used to go at him with this. And you can imagine my intimidation, my threat of violence, you just not going to be, misrepresenting my name like that. And I understood love is no matter how many times you make a mistake, I'm still here to love you by trying to show you support, trying to hear where you're coming from, meet you where you are, and give you the support you need to get where you're going. That all requires strategy, because I want to wring your neck. I want to hem you up. You know what I mean? But I got to figure out what's going to be good for you in the long run. And in doing all of that, that's love.
And that doesn't solve anything.
Right. It doesn't, but it feels better, because in that moment, you getting what I got. Because I'm embarrassed, now I'm embarrassed you, right? So in that moment, it feels good, but then you're looking at a kid that's even more dejected. He's even more deflated now. Now he's got nothing to go on because the one person in his corner just beat his ass. Yeah. The one person that's in his corner just told him he ain't gonna be nothing when he grows up if he continues down this line. So you gotta find a way to build him up. And that's love. Because where are you finding that from otherwise? That's nothing but love. And I had to learn love through that. And I learned how to love myself, because a lot of what we do to them, or a lot of the way we interact with them, is out of the fear that we have, right? So I feared not being enough. I feared messing up. And then when you messed up, this is where it comes back to, when you mess up, now I got resentment coming at you and not strategy. And so love has to step in the way of resentment, and love has to tell you, yo, be strategic, because you don't want your kid to experience this, and this isn't about you right now. It's not. Right? So that love piece is, no matter how many times I make a mistake, I got to still wake up, and I got to still go out there and try to be my best self. And I got to forgive myself for the mistakes I've made with other people and with myself. And I've got to somehow teach my son how to love himself, but I can't teach him how to love himself if I'm beating him or if I'm dealing in fear. Yes. And a lot of what we've talked about on this show so far, and a lot of what parents deal with, is fear. And I tell people all the time, hate is not the opposite of love. Fear is. Because as a loving parent, I have to be open-minded. As a loving parent, I have to look for opportunities to score wins with my son. As a loving parent, I have to bridge the gap through communication. As a loving parent, I got to put my ego to the side. As a fearful parent, my ego's in the front seat. As a fearful parent, I'm a limited thinker. We're going to do this one way and one way only because I don't know those other ways. I don't know what that's going to yield. As a fearful parent, we can't talk about nothing. You're going to do what I said we're going to do. That's it. Because I don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. Right? So fear actually limits us as parents. And am I saying there's no fear? Absolutely not.
100%.
I'm saying everything is a balance. And you can't let fear do the steering when love is supposed to.
Do you guys think that a woman can raise a boy to be a man?
She did. And I don't want to jump on that because I know where that's going. Because no disrespect to my son's mother, but what I'm doing right now is coming from a man's perspective and a lot of man experience, right? And my mother will tell you, you do need a man to raise a young man, but my mother did a hell of a job.
Congrats to her.
Thank you. And I gave her hell.
Same.
I gave my mother hell, and I don't know how she did what she did, but she figured something out, and she led with love, right? Now, is that to say it could never be duplicated? No, but it's hard work. It's extremely hard work. We know it's hard work, and we're men. Imagine being a woman raising a young man, because the one thing we don't talk about is the biological effects of having a man. I walk in the house, yo, what's up? You can feel my voice. You can feel my voice, as opposed to it not having any bass in it. There's a different message being sent to the brain and the body. So when I walk up on my son and I speak to him like this and I'm in his ear, it's sending a feeling through him. I know that because I've been on the other end of that when a coach was in my ear. And it's actually even more different when I speak like this than when I'm speaking like this, because I've actually taken bass out of my voice to project more. And I think I'm projecting something onto you. I'm easier to ignore this way. You can't even feel me. You can block me out. But if I'm speaking like this and that vibration in my voice has dropped and that baritone has kicked in, oh, you feel me, right? There's the way I carry myself. You've never seen a man before. And even when you've seen a man, you've only seen him in a certain capacity. Now, you see me when I first wake up and what I look like. You see me when I'm brushing my teeth and how I take that seriously. You see me coming out the bath. You don't see this on TV. All these intimate scenes where you get to see a man, that's me raising you by example, and I don't even know that sometimes. Yeah. So now when I turn around and you wearing Curve cologne, why you want to wear that? Why you wearing Curve cologne, bro? That's an old school cologne.
High school.
You understand what I'm saying?
High school, yes.
Like, why you want to line your hair up like that? Why you want to wear your clothes like that? If you look at the way my sons dress, they choose to dress very similar to me. I do not make them dress this way. Yo, Pops, let me get that t-shirt. Yo, can I get them sweats? Right? That's me raising them. My mom ain't wearing no sweats I want to wear.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just surface, but I'm just talking about the subtlety of a man raising a man, right? And it's biological because I'm learning how to take my place in the social hierarchy too, because I'm watching you amongst other men. I'm watching you amongst other women. I may not say anything, but I'm watching you. I have these conversations with them, and they'll tell me, nah, because I remember seeing you do this and I remember seeing you do that. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's a great feeling to have. That's a great
It is
feeling.
and it isn't, right? Because I had to grow up fast. My sons have seen me slap the hell out of men. Like, my sons have seen me put hands on people. I had my youngest son when he was a baby tell me, Daddy, you didn't have to hit that man, right? That's pressure because I only know one way. So now you want me to what? Negotiate? You want me to walk away from something? You want me to stand down? Why? So he could think he's better than me? But that's ego, and that's not love, right? And that's also ego built on fear, right? And these are the things I need to learn so I can teach this man this. Because there are some times where the mom is going to be dealing with you and she's perpetuating these things and she thinks she's getting rid of them, but she's making them worse because she don't know it from a man's perspective. She can only ask.
But I pose that question because Father's Day just passed and you hear a lot of women saying that they're playing both roles. You don't hear men saying that they're playing both roles. You don't.
Shout out to my man E.M.E.N on Instagram. He's playing both roles. And it's been amazing to see because.
But to cut you off real quick, but shouldn't you, as a parent, whether you're a father or a mother, do that no matter if the other person is in the picture or not?
Ideally, Ideally speaking, yes, but what are our examples? Not a lot of examples of that, right? Ideally speaking, we know this because you're in tune with your kids and you know you got to have a balanced approach, right? And this is where I go back to learning other philosophies. I understand the yin and the yang of everything, right? So I understand that there's a yin and a yang to a parent setup where there's the mom and the dad. I also understand that there's a yin and the yang in you, right? So I'll tell people like, I know my spirit animal. My spirit animal, my masculine energy is I'm a wolf, but my feminine energy is I'm a lioness. People are like, yo, what the? That's deep, but that's who I am. And I have to understand that dichotomy exists in my kid too. So while my sons are ferocious on the field, I know my son needs a hug in the morning. Yes. I know he just needs that man-to-man contact. And it may not be an aggressive hug. He just needs to feel held and kept. And if it ain't coming from mom, it's going to come from me. I understand that balance, right? But what I was saying with my man E.M.E.N is the one thing. And I always give women their flowers because I find that men are very strong. I think men are strong and they're the strongest humans on earth, but women are the most powerful. And in being powerful, women are powerful in that they have to absorb a lot more than we do. We fight off a lot of things. You're going to see a guy take off his shirt, throw it, and make a whole lot of noise before the fight because he don't want to fight. He wants you to be so afraid of him that you don't touch him. She may not have that option. So she has to somehow, some way deal with the fact that you just touched her and she wants to crawl away from her skin and she still has to be there. That's power. That's not easy. So women have to be extremely selfless in this world that attempts to dominate them all the time. And we need a feminine touch. And I've seen him put a feminine touch. I'm talking about E.M.E.N. Put a feminine touch on the way he raises his kids and he does selfless things and puts his ego to the side. And I learned from that. And I learned from that because he's doing that with his sons and his daughter. Like, that's not easy. And I've seen him be selfless. Like, you can make up my face. You can do all of it. And this is one of the coolest, streetest dudes in the world. But for his kids, he's whatever they need him to be, right? And that's a woman. A woman will be whatever her family needs them to be. I know a coach that says, don't be as tough as your dad. Be as tough as your mom. Because your mom puts up with everything that everybody puts up on her, and she still shows up to do her job, whatever her job is, whether it's in the house or out of the house or both. And she takes everything that everybody has to give. Do men do that? Not so easily sometimes. We shut down, we shut out. We sometimes act like we don't know what to do because we got too much on our plate and the world is overwhelming. Right? So I get why women say that because they're already doing a lot. And now they got to take on the job of an absentee father. I get why women say that, but I also get why men like us feel like slighted because of that, because we ain't those deadbeat dads. Yeah. So celebrate us while we here. Show us love. We show y'all love. We hold y'all love. Why can't it be even? Because it's not even yet, Pop. It's not yet. Unfortunately, there haven't been that many men left on their own versus how many women have been left on their own. And that stinks. Yeah. And so we got to bear the brunt of that. And that's just part of what it is.
Mm-hmm. Lawrence and I, we both have sons, but you have a daughter. Now, as far as your daughter, if you wanted to have a talk with her about her growing into motherhood, not motherhood, but becoming into a young lady, as far as her menstrual and things go like that, would she actually listen to you? Have you had that talk with her?
When it came down to my daughter having her period, her mother handled that. Because her mother developed a period. Her mother has a period. She's a woman. She knows what it's like. I'm a man. I don't know what it's like to have to prepare or schedule your period and get a period track on your phone and carry, pads with you, a couple days leading up to your thing because you don't know if you're going to drop early or things like that. You know what I'm saying? So when it came time for that, her mother was there in the preliminary process to help her along. And I learned as time went on. I was never that dad that was ashamed to go into CVS and get pads. I never knew why dudes felt weird doing that. It ain't for me. So, so what am I ashamed for? So like you said, and even if there wasn't a mother that wasn't present, I would have taken her to my mother. I would have taken her to other, women that are around me that I trust, like you said, to deliver a proper message. And, share. But at the end of the day, you have to educate yourself. You understand what I'm saying? You have to, you as in that individual, you have to know how to do shit. So it's just, you know, I would have, I had to go and educate myself. I had to learn how to do hair. I have to learn how to do all of that. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just that's a part of the process of being a dad. There's going to be mornings where, you know, my daughter's mother's not going to be there to take care of her. She might have to be out the house early. So I'm going to have my daughter outside looking crazy because I can't do her hair. No, you got to do it. You go to YouTube University and you figure it out.
You figure it out. You know, you brought something up. If I'm thinking about myself dealing with a young lady in terms of like her upbringing, all I can offer you is a man's perspective. I can tell you how you treat yourself lands on me as a man that might be interested or as a man that sees you. But I can't tell you what it's like to feel like a woman. So now, as I'm thinking about that and I reverse it and I bring it back to that question, a woman is capable of telling you what kind of man she would like to see in you. She may not be capable of telling you what it's going to feel like all the way up to the end result or what it takes to get there. She's going to consistently remind you, you need to be this kind of man, you need to be that kind of man, but how? How do I solve for X? You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where the man comes in and he's like, here's how you do this on a day-to-day. Because all she can tell you is what she's seen.
Or what she wants.
Or what she wants. But she can't tell you what she's experienced as a man. And again, that's not to slight or undermine, because I know, and especially in my line of work as an educator, I've come across plenty of single mothers that have had to raise boys, and I've been a part of that, you know, like as a coach and as a mentor. So I've seen the hard work they put in, and I've had to step back and learn from them sometimes. But at the end of the day, I've heard it consistently. He needs a man. He needs a man's perspective. He needs to understand why I'm saying the things I'm saying. Yes. Right? And so I think about that. On the flip side, a young lady would need a woman's perspective to understand how I'm coming into womanhood, or else she's going to do it from what a guy likes. Yeah. And you'd be able to make her the perfect girl for you, but not the perfect girl for herself.
Exactly. So to cap this show off.
Oh, is that the end?
No.
Listen, man, we could go for another hour. Yeah. That's the crazy thing.
So you can elaborate on this, because I have a question for all three of us, including myself. But what's one thing that you have learned from your children? What's one thing you have learned from your children?
The one thing I've learned is that there's no. I'm always gonna preach the same words, and there's no rule book on how to raise a child, and each child, like you guys have said plenty of times, is their own human being. They're going to think different. They're going to respond different. They're going to feel different than that next child. That child you had now is going to be very different from that. You know, the child you have now is going to be very different from the next child. So it's just, you can't go into that next situation thinking that you're going to raise the second child the same way you raised that first child, because that second child might be sensitive as hell. That second child might be aggressive as hell, where it's just like, you got to parent them a little different. You know, but it's like you said, is listening to your children. At the end of the day, the one thing I always say, I have no desire to control anybody. You understand what I'm saying? I as a parent, I just feel like my job is to, you know, give you love, give you guidance, you know, preparation, and just be somebody that you can talk to, be somebody that you can go to. This world is hard, and I don't try to shield that from my daughter. So when I'm giving her the real and it comes off to her a certain kind of way, is because I need you to understand that when you step outside in this world, they're not going to be kind to you. So when these people talk bad about you, when they call you names, they call you skinny, and they say you don't have no butt and you built a certain kind of way because you're tall and you're lanky, take it, eat it. You know what I'm saying? This is building you up, because at the end of the day, when you step out into the world, they're going to say so much. I've had the craziest things said to me, but none of it affects me because I grew up in an era where we cut each other. Like, we got down. So it's just like, you can't tell me anything. And the generation now, they're so soft that when you call them something, they're crying and they're in their feelings and they're ready to crash out, in their words. You understand?
That's the
you understand? And this is a lack of emotions, you know, like you said. So, you know, everything for me is just, you know, there's a lesson in that. What can we learn from that? And that's just my main thing, because, and like I always tell, because my daughter's she's at this phase where she likes to shift blame. And I always tell her the easiest thing we can do is blame other people when shit go wrong. You got to look at yourself and look at what you could have done different, because when you start looking at what you could have done different, that's when critical thinking comes into play. And that's when real change comes. It's just like if you late to work. If you got to be to work at 9 o'clock and you know it takes an hour for you to get to work and you leave at 8 o'clock in the morning and you got to get on MTA, you know at any given morning somebody could jump the train. There could be signal issues. There could be all types of issues. If you leave at 8 and you know it takes you an hour to get to work and there's some train issues and you late, nigga, it's not MTA's fault. That's the easiest thing you could do is blame MTA. And if you blame MTA, guess what's going to happen? You're going to leave at 8 o'clock the next day and you're going to leave at 8 o'clock the day after that. No, you got to blame yourself. You got to sit back and you got to say anything can happen in this morning. So I have to give myself 15, 20 minutes for whatever that may be. You know what I'm saying? So everything just comes down to adjusting. It comes down to listening. It comes down to just understanding who's across from you. With all your gettings, get understandings. And, all these kids is different. Even like you said, your twins, born the same day, look the same. Two different people. Very different people.
I feel like you're stealing my answers.
Go ahead, man.
Nah, but I'm glad you said all of that so I don't have to say it, because first of all, I'm a big proponent of having twins has been the biggest science experiment of my life. Yes. Just watching these genes go through nurture and nature that is very similar, and just seeing how they manifest themselves, right? And how they just turn into these young people who may not always get along, may not always see eye to eye, but they love each other and they came from the same exact space, right? But they're two totally different people. So I appreciate you saying that. I also wanted to just speak to the whole blame shifting thing. I think that's the consequence of the arrogance that comes with projected expectations. We place these expectations on people and things around us when really we're not in control enough to have expectations. And the faster we learn we're not in control, there goes my spirituality stuff, right? The faster we learn we're not in control, the more we can become a part of our own power. But we actually usurp our own power and when we start to outsource for satisfaction, when we start to outsource for order. There is no order to be expected out there. We can only create order in ourselves, right? So anyway, that's neither here nor there. So the biggest lesson I would say I've learned, aside from everything you said, because everything you said, I feel like you stole my answer. The biggest lesson would be there's no cap to growth. My sons will be the first ones to tell you, each one of them will tell you, it is very difficult to be a son, Dad. It is very difficult to be a son. And I make it easy. I feel like I make it easy. I told you there's a pool in the backyard. We had a court in the driveway. They each have their own PlayStations, their own TVs. The twins share a room, but if Liam, my youngest, wants to sleep in his room that has bunk beds or sleep in his brother's room, there's another bed in there. Like, y'all are cozy. And I make it that way so you never really have to go anywhere, right? So you can just go do your thing for work and basketball. You come home and you just chill. You relax and you're safe, right? But outside of that, the expectations are high. When you show up to an atmosphere, you're wearing that last name, Raysor. That name means something. I spent the last however many years of my life building that name. So when you hear, yo, Raysor, there's going to be like a lot of smiles and a lot of expectations that comes with that. And when they meet you, they're looking at the mentor that their kids had. So they expect you to be a certain way. And for my 9-year-olds, that was a lot. For my 12-year-olds, that was a lot, right? And I had to learn, yo, at 12, this may be the last time this person ever sees my son, but this ain't the last opportunity my son has to grow. Mm-hmm. And so the weight of the mistakes can't be based on my ego and my level of embarrassment. That can't be the barometer, because everybody grows at different paces. And I'm actually, as an educator, I don't believe everybody grows at the same pace in grade school.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? So now imagine in my household, you don't have to be what I was at 12. You're going to be better than me, but you're going to take your own route. And there are many pathways up the same mountain. And I believe in that. And I had to learn that by learning that, you know what? All the rough times that Lyric had, look at him now. Look at him now at boarding school on full scholarship, leading his team to its first undefeated season with his brother in the history of the school. And you're getting A's and B's in classes. And did I mention you're on full scholarship? You're in New Hampshire, 4 hours away. If you look back 4 years ago in Lyric's life, you would have never said this was possible. Right. There is no cap to growth. Growth does not stop. I'm 41. I'll be 42 in September. Growth does not stop. I'm still looking to grow. Yeah. That's the biggest lesson my kids have taught me. Yeah. Is to be patient because growth is not on my time.
Before we get out of here, bro, you got the next 60 to 90 seconds.
Yeah, don't blow it. Don't blow
it. Oh, man. I like that as far as no cap on growing. But as far as my sons, I've learned to be a better communicator. I don't hit my sons. I don't hit my sons at all. I have conversations with my sons in a sense of why not. I explain to them. I tell my sons there's no reason to lie about anything, because if you lie about something, you're afraid of the consequence that could potentially happen. Why are you afraid of something? Why are you afraid of the unknown? So I have conversations with my sons about that. I've learned to communicate with my sons to the simplest form. Because what? Let's break it down. Because like I said before in the last episode, 2 + 2 is 4. 1 + 3 is also 4. So we may want the same thing, but we go about it differently. So explain to me what it is that you want and why you want it. Anybody that knows me knows that I am forthcoming with my emotions and how I feel, because I never want anybody to wonder where they stand with me. I'm going to let you know. And with my sons, I'm very open. I'm very transparent with my sons. Partially because I didn't have my father growing up. So I go above and beyond when it comes to my sons. And I tell my sons that I love them every single day. And I tell my sons, no matter what you do in life, you could be the best version. I don't care what it is. If you want to be a football player, which my son wants to be the best. Yep. You want to be a quarterback, be the best. You want to be an artist because he loves to draw, be the best. My son plays video games. I don't care who you're playing a video game with. Your friend, be the best. I want to hear that you're the winner all the time. And life is not going to allow you to be number one all the time, because everybody is competitive in their own right. But I just want you to be the best version of yourself. And the thing that I've learned mostly is just to communicate. And I love my sons greatly. And my sons have definitely been the shining light in my heart, in my eyes, everything. My sons mean so much to me.
Yeah, love to hear that, man.
Definitely. This has been an outstanding episode. We can definitely continue going on and on, because we are all talking about our experiences from our heart. Statistics, you can only talk so much about statistics, but when you talk about how somebody feels, an emotion, an opinion, you could talk about that forever. Yeah. And this episode can definitely go on forever. Right. And anybody that's out there that needs a role model, that needs guidance, direction, you can reach out to the Inside Man podcast. You can reach out to my brother,
LA boy _ Raysor on all platforms. I'm here for that, specifically community, fatherhood, parenting, whatever, man. I'm always here for the kids.
We are in a generation, just like you said, that there are not many communities, there are not many villages, but we are from the generation where there is a village, and we are that village.
Yes, we are.
And we are that community, and we want to be here for everybody, whether you're a boy, whether you're a girl, whether you're transgender, doesn't even matter, because we at the end of the day are humans, and we all want to be the best at something.
Yes.
No matter what it is, we all want to be the best at something. So allow a person to voice their opinion and just be the best version you could be of yourself.
Yes, indeed. That's right. And I just want to say thank y'all for having me.
I greatly appreciate it, man.
It's an honor.
You family, man, of course, man.
But you know, y'all do y'all thing up here, and I really appreciate what y'all do, and just having me as a guest and in this studio space. It's a wonderful space. Shout out to the Genius Studios, right?
Yes, sir. Boy Sav behind the camera handling his thing.
It's just an honor to be here around all of this power and all this love. And I just big shout out to everybody's children as well. Shout out to my 3 boys. I'm just a lot of love here. I really appreciate
let the audience know about your book, man.
Oh wow! So you can get either one of my books on Amazon. I call it Poetry with a Twist because it's not just poetry. In the end, I give you a couple of free writes just on some topics that are relevant and things that we need to discuss as human beings. And I take a very human being approach to writing because it's not just about the fact that I'm black or I'm a man or where I grew up, but it's about the fact that I'm a human and we are a human species. And I think if we approach life like that, things would be way different and be a lot more balanced, and we wouldn't be led by fear so much. So, because our differences create those fears in us. I'll stop there. I just want to say thank you. You can get, it's called Haikus and Things, #Haikus and Things. The first book is Introduction to the Sanryu, and the second book is Off the Walls. Yes. So you can find out on Amazon, Lawrence Raysor. Look me up and tell me what you think.
Definitely. If nobody ever told you guys today, man to man, I just want you to know that I love you, gentlemen.
I love y'all too, man. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. As always, sweet life. We out.